Adwa upon you are Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. You can take it only. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Ashura.
Ashura.
Natalanawa.
Natalanawa.
Hashabaf.
Hashabaf.
Bashalawam.
Bashalawam.
Tawada.
Tawada.
Amen.
Amen.
English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahushai that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. Yahweh Kanan, read everything. Ta'alim Ma'a Asherayim Akkad. Psalm 121. Anya Arayam Ainimya O Arayam Mayan Yabu'a Izoya Yabu'a Mayahawa Shaisha Shemayim Rarataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Wagalia Yala'a Yanawam Joshua Marka Anna La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yaishan Joshua Mar Yashur Allah Yahweh Shemaya Yahweh Tazalia Ayel Yad Yanyam Yad Yawumam Ashamash La'a Akaya Rayarak La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamoya Mako Rai Yashamo Napasha Yahweh Yashamo Awalakia Obuaya Maitha Wa'ai Iwulam Basham Yahusha the water Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharala, hear Israel. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Akkad, Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Akkad, Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Akkad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh, Tapala, Yahweh's prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwavka, Taba'a, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Barataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Lakam, Lanawa, Lakam Lanawa. Natananawa, Lakam, Yawam, Za, Wasalaknawa, Kawafnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawafyanawa, Wala'a, Abiyanawa, O, Nasai one, Abo, Awshainawa, Morai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Watapara, Iulam, Amen.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner therefore pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Ashura matazawaf the 10 Commandments. La'a,
La'a,
Yahaya,
Yahaya,
Laka,
Laka,
Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Alkaryim,
Akar,
Alpanya,
Alpanya,
La'a,
La'a,
Taisha,
Taisha,
Laka,
Laka,
Koso,
Koso,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Aibudam,
Laibadam,
La'a,
La'a,
Talakwaka,
Talakwaka,
Shamwa,
Shamwa,
Yahawa,
Yahweh,
Lahaika,
Alahaika,
Lashua,
Lashua,
Zukor,
Zakar,
Af,
Af,
Ayuwam,
Ayuwam,
Ashabah,
Ashabat,
Lakudashwa,
Lakudashwa,
Kabad,
Kabad,
Abika,
Abika,
Wa Amaka,
Wa Amaka,
La'a,
La'a,
Tuatazak,
Turatizak,
La'a,
La'a,
Tana'ap,
Tana'at,
La'a,
La'a,
Taganab,
Tagana,
La'a,
La'a,
Taina,
Taina,
Shukur,
Shakur,
La'a,
La'a,
Takamad,
Takamad,
Ko,
Ko,
Ashura,
Asherah,
La'araika,
Lara'ika,
Amen.
Amen.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto the thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the lowly and holy and guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshua, please be seated. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Asherah, Natananawa, Par Yagapan, Tuara Aman, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, At Yasha Allah. English translation, bless our Yahweh in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh in the name of Yahushai with Israel. I mad upon you are Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. You keep the Hebrew only. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakata Yahweh,
Agado,
Agado,
Bakuram,
Rakawan,
Abiyo,
Abiyah,
Manawa'a,
Manawa'a,
Ayuwan,
Aliyawan,
Molak,
Malak,
Sho,
Shah,
Shemayim,
Shemayim,
Barataza,
Barataza,
Wako,
Wako,
Debarim,
Dabarim,
Kayayim,
Kayayam,
Wagum,
Wagam,
Amashiach,
Amashiach,
Mayahawa,
Mayahawa,
Arawadnawa,
Arawadna,
Ahabnawa,
Ahabnawa,
Hapala, Ya Aitaza, Yahushai, Zakar Yahweh, Bataz one, Anka, Yasha'Allah, Izod Bana, Wasap, Yasha'Allah. Oh, Nawa, Yamyan, Aitha, Kaiwamium, Makodam, Babakushai, Shalak, Maika Allah, Bataz Wadak, Alahayim, La, Maganawa, Rapanawa, Washamor, Ilnawa, Vaikur, Shalat, Aroka, Shaw, Yahushai, Lanawa, Lala Mudnawa, Rabium, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada Ife, Shaw, the Barker, Bahasham, Yahushai, the Wada, the Myad, Iwalam, Aman. English translation.
Virginia Shelton.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, and blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us favorably, your people, Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send the Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly, send the spirit of Yahushai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ashurah, Natanawa, Atawrat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ashurah, Natanawa, Awar, La'orat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the remson to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ashurah, Natanawa, Quran, Ha'ayo, La Korah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ashurah, Natanawa, Asheman, Zayaf, Lamashak, Yasha Allah. Yeshabah. Please be seated. Everybody else.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code. If you are the host, press star now. Please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. Thank you. There are 4 participants in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Shalom, Yasharallah.
Shalom.
Welcome to Yasharallah Kanal. As usual, as prescribed by by the Most High in the Bible. And is the Most High in this glorious day, where He created all things. In the seventh day, He rests His creation. That's why He put this day aside for us to come in and praise and worship Him. And that's why we're here today. God makes His second coming. We will be keeping the Sabbath day. My name is Kahan Pukwad. I will be presiding over the service. And as we usually say, have your book, Bible that is, your notebook, dictionary, or else you have to follow the Sabbath service. Also, note all the scriptures that we're going to be bringing out. By the power of Yahushua Mashiach and the Holy Spirit, we will be having a great service. We're going to be reading today the Apocrypha. That was taken. If you have the 1611 King James, it will contain the Apocrypha. So we will be reading out of that book today. And the chapters that we will be going over is First Maccabees, chapter 6, and also chapter 7. In the book of the Maccabees, we witness many fight that our people got involved in, mainly because when there is another rulership, that empire or that kingdom, in order to consolidate power, want to follow their custom. They want us to make league with them, where our power or where our engage in their laws, right? Where we would influence other people to start following more different ideology contrary to that kingdom's ideologies. What they see in their mind as a competition to what they believe in. So in the book of Maccabees, the first chapter in Maccabees, it's a continuation of Judas Maccabeus to restore our custom, our culture, our values, our laws, what the Most High gave to us, right? According to what He says in the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6 read, "For thou art an holy people unto people Bob, street light, right? Should it do that? You know, it happens.
I know that. Why? Another thing, some of the other tools that they have, I have on the live stream, they don't seem to be having the problem we have.
Is, if we get a chance, to still reach out, but they are utilized. So all that can play a factor when it comes to technology. I mean, you able to buy. You see me, brother?
And yeah, you keep going in and out. Back now.
But
I'm going to stay with the computer and stay with the phone because I don't want to miss nothing.
Okay, all right.
It's like a barn door. It's like a door opening and closing. Closing.
Mhm.
Opening.
Are we still on?
You're back on. Yes.
Okay. All right, good. All right, thank you for the notice. Appreciate it.
Nah. Right.
All right.
So some apps and stuff downloaded. I think it was all available.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into the scripture of the day, chapter 6. First, we read Deuteronomy 7 and 6, the chosen of the Most High among all nations that are upon the face of the earth. And this is very big, right? It's big and profound. And we can only understand how profound this is once we understand, the effect that we can have on the whole earth being the Most High chosen people, right? So everything revolves around Israel, but right now it doesn't show that everything revolves around us because we have come down very low. And the reason that the earth is the way it is because we, as the chosen people of God, are not being seen as the example or even we apply what we supposed to apply to be that example that the world should follow. So therefore the world is following their own tradition, their own customs, why we see things the way they are. So Deuteronomy 7 and 6, very important scripture to begin. And now we're gonna go to First Maccabees, the scripture or the chapter of today, which is chapter 6. First Maccabees chapter 6. It says, about that time, King Antiochus, traveling to the high country, I had a hard time figure out which one because so many of them, but this one was Antiochus the fourth. Right, this was Antiochus the fourth, and you remember he left his country to go and collect revenues because we were causing them much trouble because they were trying to trouble us. And in any military intervention in wars was costly. It costs money to maintain the troops, to maintain arsenals, to keep things going. It costs a lot of money, and revenue weren't coming in as it should. So he wanted to find as much money as he could possibly get to carry out his objective or his mission. Because the world, because they don't know the Most High, they think everything can be resolved via money, right? Money is the beginning of it all for them, and money is the end of it all for them. So he went personally to go and try to recoup some revenue, right? While he left one of his top generals to oversee his affairs and also taking care of one of his sons. right? So the revenue weren't coming in satisfactorily, so he went in and tried to collect, you know, the money himself, try to get the revenue, try to get the taxes. Okay. So he went throughout the provinces. When he in the place that he went in the course of his journey was a place called Elamites. So let's read that. It says, about that time, King Antiochus, traveling to the high countries, heard say that Elamites in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold. So when you have great power in your hand and you find yourself in necessity, the temptation is to go get what you can because the power is in your hand. So as he was going throughout his journey, going throughout the provinces, he identified Elamites. And Elamites was a modern region, which is the modern region now, which is Kazakhstan in Iran. To show you what we're reading here, fairy tales. There's things that happen, but around that time, the name of those places were different. But today, if you fast forward it, it's modern day Kazakhstan, which is in Iran. So now, Elamias was considered the metropolis of those provinces, meaning the center of those provinces. And it was famous for a rich temple. Remember, Alexander the Macedonian went and conquered the Persians. So, and at that temple, it was dedicated for goddess Diana. So they left so many things there of value. So he knew about that place, that city, and he wanted to go and plunder that city. So it says in Elamites, in the country of Persia, was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold. So if you're in problem, you want to run your war, so anything extra you can get will be a plus, right, to maintain your kingdom. Just as we see like America today trying to maintain rulership, being the #1 superpower, but yet they losing foothold to China because they are losing power in terms of monetary wise. Right, monetary wise, they are not the #1 country. Actually, China right now has passed them. China is the #1 economic country in the world. US is not the #1. US has lost its place. Right? But when we look at the economics, the US has about $777 billion worth of deficit when it comes to their trade balance. In China, being that they even have twice the population or 3 times the population as the US, they have a trade surplus of $1.1 trillion. Right? As opposed to a debt compared to the trade, they have a $1.1 trillion of net trade compared to a US who have a loss. So now they losing their foothold as the so-called superpower. So now in the second verse, it says, in that there was in it very rich temple. And this is what we mentioned, that temple was dedicated to Diana when Alexander the Greek conquered Persia, right? They established their They established their rulership there. Wherein were covering of gold. All right. Okay. Got it.
Oh, that,
Try to assume he does the same thing. That means that.
always. You do the thing. Always try to hear your voice, my brother. Water. I heard.
Go on.
Try the last one time because he was on the line.
Okay. All right, can you see it? All right, can you see me now, brother?
Fine.
All right. All right, so we were in verse 2. I'll read verse 2 again. And that there was in it a very rich temple, wherein were coverings of gold, and breastplate, and shields, with Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Grecians, had left there. So I mentioned earlier that when Alexander the Greek conquered Persia, they established their kingdom there, and they had in the temple dedicated to Diana all these things that we are reading here. And Antiochus, in his attempt to bring riches to his kingdom, he plotted to go and steal these riches from the people in the city Alymais. So now, what happened is the plot became known to the citizens, and they withstood him in fight, in battle. So he fled, as we're gonna read. He says, wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it. Remember, that city is what is known today as Kazakhstan in Iran. Right? That's where that city is located.
You know what also? It's rich in oil now, so from diamonds and gold, now they're rich in oil.
Right.
We're out again, the quad.
Okay.
Video playback interrupted.
Okay.
Please try again.
Okay. Do a quick refresh, see if it comes back on again. Because all right, do a quick refresh and let us know. And what comment were you making, brother? You said it's rich in oil now, right?
Yeah, cuz it's so funny. Now, Iraq and Iran rich in oil, black gold they call it.
Okay.
It's all gone now, so I forgot what it was saying. You're back on, but you froze.
Okay.
And you know how that circle comes in the middle, like it's refreshing?
Yeah. See if you see a button that says play at the bottom, and click play.
Back on, quiet.
Okay. All right. So it says, wherefore he came and sought to take the city and to spoil it. But he was not able, because they of the city having had warning thereof. So they found out, the citizen of that city found out about, they found out about his plot to come and plunder it. But they could not take it. Right? So his plot became known. Of course, you always have, when you have a city like this, you always have to have people around that would relay information and knows the threat that would that they face, especially if they have objects of value in that city. So they are subject to prey from other countries or from other kingdoms or from other kings. So they have to be on alert about thieves and robbers. And at that case, this man is desperate, needing everything that he could to further his kingdom, or to see if he can reinstate what's left of it, because we were marching and, you know, taking care of them because they wanted to take care of us, meaning kill us. So we made sure that Judas Maccabees had an army, and by the power of the Most High, he was able to, you know, give him a good beating, right? In verse 4 now, rose up against him in battle, so he fled. So the people counterattacked his plan, and he fled. So now, in verse 5 now, it says, in verse 4 now, it says, rose up against him in battle, so he fled, and departed thence with great heaviness, and returned to Babylon. So he was disappointed, very disappointed. He was heated at that moment. So in verse 5, it says, moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia. Came in Persia while he was there and reported that, let's read on, it says, came brought with tidings into Persia that the armies which went against the land of Judea were put to flight. So somebody came while he was in Persia and told him and reported to him that the armies that had gone into the land of Judea had been rooted out. Another blow. So now he went to collect revenue, and he went to try to steal, right? He went to murder the people or try to plunder the city. That didn't happen. Then the army that he left behind got beat. So you can see that he feel that his kingdom is on its way out. And imagine when you're in a position of power, and then to see that your power is going down and down and down, especially if you're attached to it. That's a big problem in the mind of a king, because you don't see yourself anything other than being kings. Because, you know, power is in your hand. You don't see yourself as anything else as being king. You don't want to see yourself as the regular citizens. You rather die than being seen as a regular citizen. And you don't want to die because you want to enjoy things, because you attach to them and you see the pleasure that you find in all these riches, and to see that there's nothing you can do to save it, that brings great heaviness and disappointment to it.
Yeah, I just wanna read two scriptures quickly. Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8. Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. That's so with rulership, world rulership, it goes from one kingdom to another kingdom. That's why kingdom fall and kingdom rise. Well, so,
that was the Apocrypha, Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 8. Ecclesiasticus 10 and verse 8. Such is the plight of all the kingdom of the world today. And that's the way it's going to be until Yahushua comes back. Why that is because they operate in a mindset of lack. And that's one thing that we should always try to the best of our ability. The position that we're in, we're not operating under a position of lack, because the power that backing us, the Most High, is limitless. Right? It's limitless. We may see ourselves in necessity right now. Don't think for a moment that we are lack of anything. There's no lack of anything in the world. To think so is to operate the way the world operates. There's no lack of nothing in the world. So in his stance, he think money can bring him back to rulership. And the fact that he's losing men power and also he's losing money because he's operating out of a sense of lack of resources, he feels like these things can bring him back to power. And that's not the case.
Kind of, that's one point that's interesting you bring it out, because in the class we talked about that briefly, where it's a common thing said out there now, it's a bad economy. So, but really it's just those who have wealth at this time are holding on to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much that they said there's no wealth or power. No, it's there.
Right.
It's just those that are in position to actually have it are buying and holding.
Right.
They're not creating opportunity.
Good.
So it's there. It's just who's holding on to it, who's transacting it back and forth. Like we were talking about earlier with the trade surplus.
Mm-hmm.
You don't trade it, then it would appear as though, there's scarcity.
Right.
That's just on the common level.
Right. And imagine a country that have almost 3 times the population of the US able to have a trade surplus, while another country, right, while the US has deficit. Clearly there's a mismanagement there of the resources. So which means it's not lack. If that was the case, the people in that country that have surplus would have starved because they have almost 3 times the population. Why is it the case in the US? This is not a case of lack, it's a case of mismanagement, like you're bringing out. And again, in the sense of us as Israelites, we should never have a lack mentality. And the lack of mentality is what got us where we are right now. Hosea 4:6, prime scripture. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So we should never operate under lacking of anything, because the power of the Most High has everything that at our disposal. At a blink of an eye, he can make anything happen. Anything is possible to the Most High, even in a place where you don't see no way out. No way out. The Most High has his substance in place where at the given time, for the right individual who asks for what he desires to have, without doubt, he will make sure that all the T's, everything put in place to have what you have, what you need. Right? So, and that's gonna be the same for those people, for the other nations, because they operate out of a sense of lack, because they don't have, the understanding, the knowledge that everything belongs to the Most High, and there's no limit to what the Most High can accomplish. Verse 5 says, moreover, and I quoted Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Again, in the book of Maccabees, the 6th chapter, in the 6th verse. Right, it says, moreover, that verse 5, moreover, there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies which went against the land of Judea, so the armies that he left to take care of Israel, they were put to flight. That's another deficit. He's coming back with less of what is expected, right? Because he wanted to plunder the city of El-Mas. That didn't happen. Now he got news while he was in Persia that Judas Maccabees beat his army. That's another blow. So when he came back, let's see what's going to happen. And that, like says, who went forth first with a great power was driven away of the Jews, and that they were made strong by the armor and power and store of spoils, which they had gotten of the armies whom they had destroyed. So now, what happened now? Judas Maccabees defeated them, and whatever he gave his army to sustain them, we took what they had with them, the abundant supplies that they have. Because at this point, he's going out full-fledged, because he's putting out whatever resources he has to make sure that he doesn't lose power. So he sent them well equipped. So they got beat up, and we took away what they had, and we took it in abundance. We spoiled. We take their spoils. So, Shalom. So in verse 7 now, it says also that they had pulled down the abomination which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, in his city Bethsura. So now in the city Bethsura, which is Bethsura is what is now, it's in a mountain Hebron in southern Judea, right? And now it is part of where we call the West Bank. Okay, this is back then, and this is now, right? This is part of what they call West Bank, Bethsura, today, right? So this is our history. This is our history that we're reading about today. Each and every one of us watching online, listening to the conference line, this is your history. This is your people. This is you, your ancestors, right? We wanted to restore what is ours, which is our culture, our nationality, what we stood for, our values, our principles, right? We would go and fight with the power of the Most High to make sure that we preserve these things. All right. So now, and where it says in verse 7 again, also that they had pulled down the abomination which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls as before, the city Bethsura. So what happened is there, we took away the thing that he has set up, the abomination, meaning their customs, the heathen custom, we took that away. In verse 8 now. Now, when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved. So he was astonished. He was shaken. Right? He was shaken. He shook. Right? It says, he was astonished and sore moved. Whereupon he laid him down upon his bed and fell sick for grief, because he had not befallen him as he looked for. So now what he desired to have did not happen. So what happened? He got sick and he was laid in bed. Right? He became very sick and disappointed. Because of that, it turned him, to become very sick, because things did not go according to his plan, according to his desire, because his desires was misplaced. When you seek desires that destroy people, you seek what you get what you put out, right? As a
is this Esau we speaking about here?
Is this Esau that we speaking about here? Antiochus, yes.
The person believes. That's sick. Is that Esau? when Israel came into power again under the Romans and the Greeks.
Yes.
So we coming around like a circle, like everything come back around. So.
Right. I mean, that's the way it is. Like we said, like you said, everything comes back around. What goes around comes around. You saw, that's how I meant sow it, that's how you also reap. And that's why I mentioned no matter what the kingdom of the world does, they will not be able to survive because they're like the brother read in Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8, the kingdom go from hand to hand because they take it by violence. Why? Because they don't see themselves, they cannot see themselves in the eyes of the creator to go and make things happen, to be creative and to get their kingdom. They have to take it by robbing other countries and to take what they have, because they feel like if they don't get what the other countries have, they can never get power. So they go in and kill people and rob people.
That is so true. That is so true.
But in our kingdom, which is based on abundance, not lack, that means we don't have to rob somebody. Okay, that's why we read in Exodus, thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's sheep, or thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's servant. Thou shalt not covet anything that neighbors have. You should not covet that. Most High has enough power to give you whatever you want. You don't have to go rob somebody in order for you to have something of value that you want. You don't have to rob the next man in order for you to have something. That's people who operate out of a sense of competition, right? Those who operate out of a sense of competition, you feel like what you have, somebody gonna come and take it. So you always on the fence, because if you don't guard yourself, somebody gonna come and take it, and that's the way the world operates. But when we in the mind of the Most High, who is the Creator, we in a creative mind, whereas we ask the Most High what we want, and we know the Most High would make it happen without having someone at a minus. Right? So that's operate out of a sense of abundance as opposed to a sense of lack. Right? Even let's say you want a property or you want a car. All the cars or all the properties in the block is gone. Don't ever feel like, man, everybody gonna get it before I get a chance to get one. Let me hurry up and get this. Let me no. Even if there's none left, the Most High will find a way to put things together to have this man wanted to sell his house. And then at the same time, you have the money to afford it, you'll get it. Meaning it's gonna be a win-win for the person who wanted to sell it and for you who wanted that house. So you don't have to rob somebody or be hurry up and trying to get something. It's gonna be gone if I don't make a move. Right? Because that's the way the Most High operates. But with them, they gotta rob somebody in order for them to feel like they gain power. Right? Because they think things gonna be gone if I don't get it. If I don't get it now, everybody's gonna get it. So I gotta get mine. I gotta hurry up and get mine. Right? So verse 9 now. And there he continued many days, for his grief was ever more and more. So now just to see how much this guy put in his kingdom and rulership. So that was it for him. Right? That was he reached his pinnacle. He got there and now he's going down. He cannot take it because his mind was in his kingdom. So just to show you, his mind is not in the Most High who gives kingdom to people. His mind is in his kingdom. So for him to lose it, it felt like it's the end of it. So he got sick. right? But you know why? They don't have us as an example. Like who have the power of the Most High, who have the law of the Most High in our hand to exemplify so they can see how to live. That's why the world is the way it is. It's because the people who's supposed to be the example for people to follow, to see how to live, we are not in our prominence. So they left to themselves now, according to their own, custom, their own culture, their ideology, following their forefathers and the founding fathers, and those are the people they look up to. Because they don't understand the Most High to look up to the Most High. We have that position. So that's why the world will always be on a downward spiral until Yahushua comes back. Because even the kings of today, you think they have all the powers in the world, they rule things. They rule things according to their own ideology, according to their doctrine, according to what they mix, according to their philosophy. Not according to the Most High.
They say we still here after all the murders they did us, and we still here. They say, how do you still survive? We kill them every day.
Right, and also they see that they don't see us as the children of the Most High either, because they feel like if we were the children of the Most High, how come they're in power and we're not ruling over them? If the Most High is all powerful and we are His children, we should be in that position, not them. So they failed to look upon us, and they were not. And it makes sense because we are not acting according to we were created, to be. So if we were in our position and we were the example, first we will look up to the Most High for everything we have, and we would walk according to the Most High's commandments, statutes, and how to live. Then they would follow us as example.
Yeah, I just want to read for the first Maccabees from the first few verses. He's probably looking at that, how Alexander, son of Philip, how he conquered many strongholds, like first Maccabees 1 and 2, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. Okay. So he saw that. He's probably reflecting upon that he wants a great name, right, like Alexander, the son of Philip.
Right. They want to outdo him. That's the way the world works. I would do him. If he did this, I want to do that. I want to be on top. So it's always operate out of a sense of competition, not out of a sense of creativity, right? In the mind of the Most High to get things and make things happen, but they operate out of a sense of competition.
Kind of, it's funny you mentioned that because when we always talk about that book, the 48 Laws of Power, and there's a certain principle in there that they had, which a lot of them would come from the scriptures anyway. One of them, and they twist them. But one of them was never try to fill a great man's shoes. And in history, they have examples in history they use to show the law. And they actually use Alexander and his relationship with his father Philip, where that was like one of Alexander's motivations was to get out of his father's shadow. His father was a great ruler too. He said, I can't follow suit with him. I got to break free from him, right, more than one way so that I can be set apart. So it's kind of interesting to check out that history. You look at other figures that play that scenario out.
Right. And not to say expansion or want to be better is not a good thing. It's not want to be better than the next person. It's to seek to express what the Most High has. That anything that we do in terms of expansion is of the Most High anyway, right? Whatever was created back then was for that moment, and it works for that moment. So as we expand, we create more things. This is part of the Most High. We come to the knowledge and expand it, because the Most High is seeking to express himself through people. But out of the people that he seeks to express himself in his creation to show how glorious he is the children of Israel. This is that nation that he wants to express himself through, and through that nation, other people can see examples. To become better is up to express the Most High to begin with, but not out of a sense of competing, trying to outdo the next man, but it's to come to expand, so that you can become better. And when you become better, it's the Most High expressing his will through us. That's the sense that we gotta look expansion and grow in the spirit and grow in anything, right? Let's go to Luke, the 12th chapter, in the 32nd verse. It is the Most High's pleasure to see the children of Israel become very, fit in anything that they do. That's the Most High's pleasure to see that happen. Sometimes we get caught up into the curses, right? To the curses, and we feel that being in poverty is of the Most High, and it's a necessity. The Most High don't want the children of Israel to be in poverty.
But it was a curse that he put on us to be in poverty.
Actually, the Most High created us law, statutes, and commandments, right?
Right.
And he gave us the condition. If we do it, this is what will happen. It's not the Most High, it's us.
Right. We chose death instead of life.
Exactly. Is it the Most High that will put us in that condition? Or is it our lack of choosing righteously that put us in that condition? Is it the Most High?
Well, the Most High did put us in here, but it's because we didn't obey the commandments.
Right. So whose choices was it?
Well, it was our choice.
Right. So
go to hell. Like
so the Most High doesn't want us to be in poverty.
No.
Right? The Most High wants us to be in abundance, not in poverty. Why would the Most High want us to be in poverty? And then on the other hand, he's going to give us a kingdom with everything.
Right.
I'm glad the way he said it. It was our choice to go to hell.
Right? Right? So let's go to Luke.
He gave us a choice.
Right. He gave us a choice.
He told us we could be on top of the world or on the bottom of the world.
Right. And at the same time, he grieved him to see us in poverty. To see us. He doesn't want us to be in poverty.
Well, I read a part where he was laughing at us.
Yeah, laughing at us for our stupidity. For not choosing the right thing.
Okay,
Right. And not choosing the right thing. And now we are learning.
Okay.
Right? We are learning. We should take that curses as an opportunity to learn, not to stay confounded in that poverty and use it every time we find, oh man, we in poverty. It's the curses, isn't it? It's the curses. So once we put ourselves in it's the curses, that means we become to a point we become comfortable in our curses. We don't seek expansions.
We don't see what?
We don't seek expansion. We don't seek to get out of it. We feel like, oh man, there's no way for me to get out of this because I'm in, that's the Most High, it's the Most High.
Right.
It's the curses, man. It's the curses.
Right.
We can get out of it if we apply the scriptures the way we're supposed to.
Early.
Okay.
Okay.
We can get out of it.
If we start applying this like we're supposed to, we'll get out of here earlier than someone else who's not applying it.
Who's not applying it. Because the curses is based on knowledge, right? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6. So now the key is, when we look at poverty, we got to look at poverty as a state of mind, not as in a state of possession and things like that. The possession is just a byproduct of us applying the scriptures and they come in. That's why the Most High said, labor not to be rich. The Most High doesn't tell us it's bad to be rich, but your focus should not be on getting rich.
Right.
If you're applying the scriptures and do what you got to do, by default, you're going to become rich. But your focus is not in riches, because if you focus on riches, that's where you're going to put all your mind and you're going to forget about the Most High. Right? Because by default, you're going to become rich because that's not your focus. You're just doing the right thing and then the blessings keep coming because that's the way things operate. All right, let me read that scripture first, Yahukanan, and then can pull that scripture. Luke 12 and 32. Luke 12 and 32. This link with him focusing on the kingdom, on his king, on his rulership in his kingdom, which is verse 9, right? He focused on his kingdom in his riches. But with us, as I was bringing, the Most High, it's his pleasure to hand us the kingdom. It's the Most High's pleasure to hand us the kingdom. Right? Let me read it.
He wants us there.
He wants us there. Right?
Yeah, it's written, but it's, you gotta say it. Sometimes you don't even think about it like that.
Right.
So you can see, like he says, it's the affliction.
Right.
Struggling, trying to, every month. First of the month, bills,
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta say it, read it, and like say it out loud. Like he wants us to succeed, like what they do in the world,
right?
The prosperity,
right?
He wants us to prosper. He wants
right.
to
right.
He wants to make sure we're ready when we do it.
Right. Sometimes you know what we do? We pray for the Most High to appease the affliction. We don't ask the Most High, I want this, Most High. Here's the reason I want this. I like it this way. I would like it that way, this way, that way, that way, that way. Quickly ask the Most High what you want. Whether it's a house, I like to have a house like this, like that, in this neighborhood, in that neighborhood, in this neighborhood, in that. Clear in your mind, you ask the Most High. You know why we ask the Most High? Most High, appease my affliction, man. It hurts. You know what? That's what the Most High gonna give you. That's what you ask. Because we been down so low, we ask for small things because we feel that's where we belong. That's not the case. We are kings and queens of the earth, and we deserve to have nice things. We deserve to be in good position, right? But oftentimes, that's not what we ask the Most High. And then we ask why we in the condition. Why? Because we never asked the Most High for that. What the Most High said, ask, I shall be given you, right? Right? Open and it shall be open. Knock, it shall be open. Because when we ask the Most High, we doubt that we get men in that position that I'm at. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Because you're looking at your current situation, not knowing that everything is possible for the Most High.
Right.
Right. Right. Like I said, let's say, for example, you want a nice house, right? You want a nice house in a nice neighborhood. And in your current condition, and you don't see how you're going to do it given your current job and things like that. If you look at it that way, you'll never ask the Most High for a big house, because then you're looking at your current condition, there's no way you can get out of it. But the key is, if you ask the Most High for that, you know what can happen? What can happen, you ask the Most High, you desire to have that, you believe that you receive it already. Like he said, you believe it that because you have it mapped out already. Even you don't see how that's going to happen. You map it out already, and you have faith, right, to start making small steps that will get you there. Let's say if I need this house because this month, how I'm gonna get this? Let me see if I can get this job, that job. You know what happened? You might think you're not gonna get this job. The Most High will move the mind of men or in that position that's gonna interview you. Boom, he's gonna play in his mind. Boom, you get that position. As you're in that position, a promotion gonna come in that's gonna bring you more income. The Most High gonna move that man and put in that position. Boom, you bring more income. Next thing you know, you start saving. Right. Next thing you know, things Most High gonna put. This person want to sell that house, and he want to sell that house at a ridiculous price. You're like, man, have the down deposit or the money to buy the house. It's the Most High that's working, but we never asked the Most High for that. Most High is moving men in place, right? Moving men in place to get you what you want. But you cannot, you cannot doubt.
You can't see it either.
You can see it, you cannot, but you cannot doubt. That's why it says, when you ask, believe that you already receive it. You already map it out, and you have faith that's gonna happen. Even if all the property gone, don't worry about it. Even if all the gold in the world would be in the possession, the Most High will in his formless the substance will make things move to have more gold created. How did the gold get there to begin with? Did people put it there? The Most High had things put there. Why do you? How do you think you cannot get you a little small house? Have you? That's the way, and that's the way the people in the world. That's how they operate. That's how they get things. Even in their wickedness, they have some kind of belief that make things move to in their position and they make things happen. What about us who are the children of the Most High? Right? You know, so I mean, when we imagine the power that we have, that everything belongs to Him. I mean, we can't have it any better than that. Right? So let me read that scripture in Luke 12:32. It said, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Plain Yahushua saying it. Why? Because we fear we men. Am I always gonna be in that condition? Now relax, man. Relax. Right? Relax. And Kahan, Yao Kanan.
I just want to read this quickly. 1 Kings 3:10. Yeah. 1 Kings 3:10. And his speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. And God said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither have asked riches for thyself, nor have asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy word, though I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee.
Right.
Verse 13, and I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that not be any the kings like unto thee all thy days.
Right. So he asked the Most High for wisdom and understanding to discern things. By default, the Most High give him riches. It just fall into place. Right? It just fall into place. Kahan Nabia.
Kind of exactly. That's where we go into what you both of us are talking about. Asking for carnal things is good. Asking for spiritual things is better, because the spiritual riches, when we have those in place, they're most highly more than willing to give us those carnal things. And that's where the sky is the limit. So
Right.
actually, even the sky is the limit.
Gone. And you know why the Most High will give it a man of wisdom? Because a man of wisdom see riches to better other people, to better himself first, right? To express what the Most High give him, right? To give the Most High glory and to make other people better.
Let me say this, in case folks may not be aware, when we say spiritual riches here, we're talking about the fruit of the Spirit. Because what will lead a man to do what you just said? Charity, one of the fruits of the Spirit.
Right.
Meekness, one of the fruits of the Spirit. Patience, another fruit of the Spirit. And of course, that we're talking about faith.
Right.
So with those things, those building blocks, yeah, there's no limit how far you can go in this physical world. Right. You have those spiritual things in your cap.
Done. So if you have resources, a righteous man, what he's gonna tend to do with the resources? Allocate it in the right place so that it can put people better. So by putting people in better position, you know what happened to him? He get to have the people around him like him, right? And the people around him like him, that's more fruits, that's more size creation around him, right? That's reinforce what he's doing, right? But if you don't have these things, you stay stagnant, you cannot move forward, because you do need resources to move forward. Right? Without resources, for example, the Most High need hands to play pianos, right? To express music, and music to express nice melodies to put them. But if the person doesn't have money to buy the piano, how he's gonna express the Most High's, great melody. See, the Most High will give you the resources, and he gives you the means to enhance your talent. A man of wisdom and understanding will have all these things at his disposal. Right? That was 1 King 3:10, and I read Luke 12:32.
You said 1 Kings before.
1 King 3:10, 3 verse 10. Okay, verse 3:10 to 13. Back to Maccabees. Back to Maccabees.
9.
Yeah, we're going to verse 9. Yes. It says, and there he continued many days, for his grief was ever more and more, and he made account that he should die. So that's it. Disappointment killed him. Sort of like people today who lose their finances, they pull out a gun and blow their brains out. Why? Because their existence, their life was the money, was the resources, not the Most High. But a man of the Most High can lose everything that he had and bounce right back. Job, it happened to him. Even he went through it, but what did he do to have all these things going on? But you know what?
What?
Yes?
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Those verses were for verse 9.
Come
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So what?
on. Look at Job. This is sometimes certain things happen when we feel like we not deserve it. Like in the instance of Job, sometimes that's the way things work. Right? I didn't set up the system. Ask the Most High. Sometimes this is the kind of hand we dealt with. Job was put in that predicament, but you know what? He was able to bounce back even more than what he had before. Why? Because his mind was not on these things. Yet it was the glory of the Most High that he had them, but that wasn't his main focus. And we saw that through all the tribulation that he went through. After all is said and done, he would never, forsake the Most High. And then he bounced back. In this world, the world, the way people acquire riches in the world, it's rare to see, people lose things that they feel like they work hard for, to not kill themselves or not go crazy.
Especially white people.
Yep.
Based on what he just said, Genesis 25, I'll read it quickly.
Genesis 25.
29 to 34. Wait, not to be.
Genesis 29, 25, 29. Mm-hmm.
He mentioned so-called white people. Here's their profile. Here's how he dealt when he was, in his mind, lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It says, Genesis 25 and 29, and Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field, for he was faint. I said, Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage. For I am faint, therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Verse 32 is one. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall his birthright do to him?
Go ahead.
So he said he was lacking in the flesh, and then his value system was off.
Right.
He weighed the meat, the pottage he was going to get over the birthright.
Right.
Which clearly has more value.
Right. Short-term thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Then got mad what you later on.
Yep.
After you sold it, you got mad.
Right. He could have said no, right? That's what they tell us all the time. You need to get that credit card.
Right.
You need to do this. You need to do it. You need to buy this product.
Right.
We didn't tell you to do it. That was your choice.
Right. And it's get tricky in the case of doing business. Right. a righteous man, and let's say there was an exchange going on here between Jacob and Esau in that verse right here. Was it a fair exchange? Yes, it was a fair exchange. Why was it a fair exchange? He made use of the meat that Jacob gave him to quench his hunger, which he felt that he was going to die. Right? That's how he felt. Was he going to die? No. Short-term thinking. But in his mind, the meat was good for him at that time. For Jacob, it was a fair exchange. He can use that birthright. So he was a fair exchange compared to how people, no matter how people put it. It's, for example, it would be a unfair exchange if when he gave him the meat he gave him did not quench his hunger. That wouldn't be a fair exchange. But the fact that the meat quenches his hunger and he move away, and Jacob, on the other hand, make use of the birthright, it's a fair exchange. And in business, sometimes what you do is you see a lot of people cornered other people, right? You know, for their money. In a righteous man, the way you deal, you always want to give people more use value for what you give them in exchange. Give them more use value for what they are going to use the thing for, right? As opposed to the money that you're taking from them. For example, if you're selling somebody a book, right? And the book is only ink and paper. It might cost $5, right? Or it might cost, it might cost $10, let's say, to make it, ink and paper. And you turn around and charge somebody $15, right? You charge $15. Clearly, somebody might say it's not worth it. Paper. Why you charge me $15? But if you read something in that book and he had some scripture in it, a verse that caused you to change, it's worth it. It was the $15 that I charge you because you see it as ink and paper, but the word of the Most High that's contained in it is more valuable than the $15 that you paid. That was a fair exchange.
Somebody else might even think, they might think they got over you, but they don't know that.
Right.
They gave you something great.
Right, you give him something great. So that's a fair exchange. So always give people more and use value. So now if you go and use it, you might think it's a waste of $15. But if you use it and you apply what's in it, that was a good use value compared to the $15 that you spent. Right? At a job, for example, we always complain how we get paid less and less and less, and Esau always get with more and more and more, and that's the case. But you have people who have businesses, they hire people, right? Even though you're always gonna get more than what you pay them, right, for their wages, because that's how you make a profit, to keep the whole organization going, right, to pay all those people. But now what you do is you got to set up your organization in a way where those who want to advance, you set up the incentive where they can move up. Up is not you, but at least you set the stage where if they want to move up, they can move up. Right? So that's set up things righteously. So I can see how, Solomon did the same thing, right? Give people more in use value than he was getting from them, and he wasn't when he was doing his exchange, and things was fair. But first, you got to have wisdom to be able to operate in that level, to know that you operate out of a sense of you want everybody gets better. Then in the scripture it says, everyone seeks another's wealth. That's what it meant. Give somebody more than what you're taking from them, and then if they use it, they can become better and better.
As Esau put in today's terms, investing in human capital.
Right.
Oh, let me finish reading.
Go on.
Verse 33, it says, and Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Right.
Let's make another comment. I feel like oftentimes what you're buying isn't clear, or it's not made clear. It's made to be confusing. And if it's made confusing, it's hard for the person that's buying from the seller to say, is this a fair value for what I'm getting?
Right. So that's where you look for your expertise in things, right? Because there's different people that come into you. Some people, especially nowadays, information is already out there. Sometimes people go, they find out what they want to buy, they learn it, and they get the information, and then they come to you as the expert to make the final decision, right? Because in the information is everything is online, and you can go and do your own research before people actually buy. But people decide what they want to buy before they come to you. But now, if they have more questions, that's where you come in as somebody who has expertise in that area to further answer that question and enlighten them so that they're clear on the benefit that they're getting from what you're giving them. Right? Clearly state the benefit that they're getting, and then they make the decision. And I'm sure if you state the benefit of what they're getting versus what they're spending in money, right? Surely, if your product is good, it will have more benefit than what they're paying in value. Then they can make a decision in whether it's a wise, thing to buy. Like you said, in the business world, it's all about making the sale quick, and then kick you away, right? And again, people who are in business like that, they're not gonna be in business for long, because eventually people are gonna catch up to you, and then you're gonna be out of business, or you gotta switch business. Because when you look at it, you gotta look every customers that come to you, or every person that come to you for a service. It may not be in business. That, listen, if you continue to provide good value to that person's gonna remain with you for a long time. Sort of like a servant. You treat the servant right, the servant wanna stay with you. And sometimes you're like, man, they have kids and their kids grow up in your house. Treat them right. If you don't treat them right, they wanna run away. Right? Go to somebody else that's gonna serve them, that's gonna, treat them better. Right? So this is come into, the benefits of people getting versus what you've given them. This is what you're taking from them.
What does he mean by he said Esau despised his birthright? Literally.
He failed to understand the value. So it's about value. So he miscalculate the value of the birthright for food, for the immediate meat and bread, right that in there. So in anything you have to weigh things in value, like Kahan said. You have to weigh things in value, in balance.
You can believe that, but at the same time, if that really was the case, I think he was lying when he gave him, even though he told him to swear to him. I still think he was lying because he got mad with me when he really got the birthright. Guess what?
After a while, when you realize that you make a bad deal based on impulsive buying, don't you get mad? Let's say you buy something, and you peer pressure by the situation, or your friend might be around, you see everybody buying, and you, oh man, this thing is good, and you buy it, right? When you get home, say, man, how the hell did I spend my money on that thing? Man? Those guys, they pressure me. Right? When you realize what you just did, you realize that it's stupid. How the hell did they? Those guys, they were buying, and I just got in the motion of buying too. Right? So it's the same thing when he's like, what the hell, man? I wasn't gonna die, because after the hunger pain is gone, you feel like, man, I could have waited. I don't think it was that bad, but you done eat the meat, you done make the exchange, it's gone, it's done.
But I don't think he thought it was serious though when he did.
Yeah, I don't think he thought it was serious.
He thought he really gave him his birthright though.
Yeah, I mean he didn't weigh it in value. Because you know why? Because he knew back then it was big to be the first son to get things. So he knew. But at that time, that wasn't in his head. That wasn't what he was thinking. He let the hunger took over. And again, this is there for us as a learning experience. As we saying that, we know that the Most High put things in place to work the way it worked. Right?
Right.
It was gonna happen like that
Anyway,
but he's the one that is put there as an example to whenever you're making decision, weigh it in balance to see if it makes sense.
right.
Got it.
I still don't think he thought that that meant anything when he swear it. I don't think he really.
You're right.
I think he knew.
You're right. At that time when he did it, he don't think it was matter. After what he realized what he did.
I think he was being deceptive anyway. I don't think he really thought that he was really giving him that birthright because they had to go through the father anyway.
No. Listen, you see back then?
Are you saying that, or is the scripture saying that? Because didn't Jacob just simply say birthright?
Right.
Did he put wrapping around it? Did he say, give me your, a portion of Isaac's blessing? Did he call something besides what it was?
No, he called it what it was.
Right. So now, for example, when you swear, right, they tell you to swear.
No, I'm saying Esau was, in other words, I don't believe Esau really believed that he was giving Jacob his birthright. He was just, he swearing every day. But
Put it this way. Put it this way. Let me flip the script now. On the other hand, who was being deceptive then? He was being deceptive to himself. If he swear on it, usually when you swear, right, there's no judge around. Your word is bond, right? Back then we believe in that. It's today people say all kinds of stuff out of their mouth and then they don't mean it. Back then when we swear on something, we stand by it. Your word is bond, right? So now, if that's the case, that he don't think that he was given his birthright or he was exchanged his birthright, right? When he actually swear on it, who's deceiving then? He's deceiving himself. He's deceiving himself, not Jacob, but because Jacob believed him in his word and take him at his word.
Right.
So he's deceiving himself. So as a deceiver, not only he deceived the world, he's deceiving his own self on his own birthright.
He was deceiving himself.
Right. So you get the idea, right?
Yeah, he was deceiving himself. But what I'm still trying to, the point I'm trying to push is that he didn't take it seriously. In other words, I don't believe that he ever believed that Jacob was really going to get this. He just, in other words, I'll tell you anything that gets in that food, but I know you ain't get in his heart, I believe he thought, I know he ain't get my birthright, but I just tell him anything to get this food from him.
Well, whether he was, he didn't believe it, he deceived himself,
right? The
deal was made.
Yeah,
the deal is a deal.
In other words, he probably said, my father ain't really here, he ain't seen me swearing, so I could do this. You know what I mean?
Right. However way he thought about it, it was done, he lost his birthright. Right. Not that he lost, he exchanged his birthright or he sold his birthright.
Square deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? He swear. You know what I mean? But I don't think he took swearing seriously anyway. I don't think he really cared.
Esau never take anything that, so even treaties, he's been doing that. He always trying to renege afterward. When you realize, man, that thing is not working in my favor, he pull out his gun, now he trying to come after your neck. Right?
Yeah.
And brothers are still
Read
doing that
Romans
today.
9:11. You find an answer for that.
Gun sister.
Okay.
What's the verse?
Romans 9:11.
We don't hear him.
Romans 9:11.
Romans 9:11.
Mariam sent me something. It's right there in the verse, but I'll say that.
Yeah, I just want to see. I just want to read the scripture in Psalms 51:11. That David see that this is very valuable. Psalms 51 verse 11. David saying that, cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. So David see that whole valuable is it? Yes, to the Most High, to him. that the Most High don't cast away him from his spirit,
Okay.
his presence.
So that was on Romans 9 and 11.
Psalms, yeah, 51 and 11.
Oh, Psalms.
Who about Romans now?
What about
Yeah.
Romans 9 and 11?
No, to see how precious it is.
That's Romans 9 and 11?
No, that Psalms 51 and 11.
That's what you just read?
Yeah.
Psalm 51 and 11?
But, coming to with Esau now, Romans 9 and 11, for the children being not yet born, and neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth.
Right. So that's Romans 9 11. And you said the other one was Psalm 59?
David saw that it was special thing, it was precious thing that the Most High don't take away the spirit from it.
All right. So 59 and what?
51 and 11.
51 and 11. All right. So let me reiterate those scriptures again. Psalm 51 and 11 and Romans 9 and 11. Go ahead, Nadia.
I was kind of touching on that too in the last verse. She actually sent a text to me too. My wife, she said, yeah, it says he despised it.
Right.
That's the last part of the last verse. He despised the birthright, meaning it wasn't any deception. He was aware of what he was doing. Vain choice. It wasn't like I was saying before. It wasn't like he said, well, I'm gonna sell you something else. But then on the paperwork it says birthright. That's what we deal with a lot today, right? You think you're buying one thing, but you're actually getting something else. And they say, oh, you didn't read the fine print. What it was.
Yeah.
You make the rash choice, because like you said earlier, you make the rash choice to go ahead and buy that. That's on you. That's just the buyer's remorse. You got to chalk it up. And depending on what it is, some things is just, okay, call a loss. Other things it's like, damn, it's a serious loss I got to call.
Right.
Right? Depending on what it is.
Right.
It's a big deal. But it wasn't like he didn't know. I want to read this just to confirm that. This is Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12, 16 and 17. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16, it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat, birthright. Right, going to the deal with his red. Verse 17. Well, you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
Right.
That happened later on with the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen that spirit before. I've gone back and forth with folks about that, where, and it's kind of weird because they don't even know who Jacob and Esau is, but it's almost like the spirit is there for our people to sympathize with the white man again. Not even knowing that Esau is the white man, and we just go into the story itself, and they want to play the sympathy card. It's just like, really? Are you really looking at what's happening here? You're looking at the exchanges that's happening? Like they'll go into, well, hey, that was a messed up thing to do. Yo, why had to do him like that? I had to do Esau like that.
Yeah.
It's like that spirit is in our minds to want to put a white man all the time.
Right, because it's deep rooted. It's deep rooted. We can't see ourselves do anything without Master being. It's deep rooted. Because when Master's sick, we sick, Master. Right? Because we can't see ourselves doing anything without, because we want Master to be there. If Master is not in it, it can't be good. Master, we sick? Are we sick, Master?
We got to go into the Genesis before we even say who's who.
Right.
I feel like after that point, we do tell them that it's the white man. And then once we go into the story, then they want to cape for him. And say, oh no, poor, and you said, poor Master, no, he can't be denied.
Right. Master is supposed to look upon us to do things. That mode, we know we're getting somewhere. And knowing that what we have is the Most High that's working through us right, to express himself through his children. But if we fail without master, we still in chain.
I mean, going to that big tangent. We're going to Maccabees.
Gun. It's deep, man. It's deep rooted, man. All right, so let's go to back to Maccabees now. Verse. Gun. Wherefore he called for all his friends and said unto them, the sleep is gone from me. So now he's going on a rant about how things not working for him. He have no night sleep. He can't sleep at night. We're gonna find out why he can't sleep at night. Verse 10 now. He called for all his friends and said unto them, it's gone from mine eyes. Falleth. Things are not working good for me, man. I can't sleep. You know, my heart is not working right, and he's downhearted with worries. Right? He's scared. Right? A man that has power, now he's scared. It says, and I thought with myself, into what tribulation am I come? And how great a flood of misery is it? Wherein now I am. For I was bountiful and beloved in my power. So you can equate what he's going through as a state of depression. So now he's going into depression mode. Right? When your heart is heavy, that can open up doors for depression. Right? Discouragement. Went out?
The verses that you quoted, the scriptures that you quoted, is linking with verse what?
You could say verse 9. Verse 9 and 10. This is going into what he's going through.
9 and 10?
Psalms 51, those verses.
Yeah.
That might be attached to me.
Right. So, I mean, we link them indirectly to verse 9 based on the comments that we bringing out. But yeah, you could put it in with verse 9. But
Okay, so
you have to have been paying attention to the comments so that you see how they relate.
Wow.
All right, I get the ball. It says, and I thought with myself, into what tribulation am I come? And how great a flood of misery is it? Wherein now I am, for I was bountiful and beloved in my power. So you imagine how he used to be loved. You reminiscence of his power. Now his power is almost gone. He got, his armies got beat up. I ain't got no, my money is going down. I don't have enough resources to send people to fight for me. And if anything, those guys, Judas Maccabees, no matter how much I send, he's probably gonna beat them and take all my stuff. All that is going through his head. And now he's gonna confess into what got him into that position. It says 12, but now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and set to destroy the inhabitants of Judea without a cause. Right? You reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Right? Regardless if you're king or if you're a small peasant, regardless of how you roll, you're gonna get what you put out. You get what you put out. What you put in is what you put out. It's what you get out. Verse 13. And I perceive therefore that for this cause these troubles are come upon me. And behold, I perish to great grief in a strange land. So now he come to realization of what he did. Right? Came against the children of Israel without a cause. Against the children of the Most High. At that. Verse 14. Then call ye for Philip, one of his friends, was going to become Antiochus V, whom he made ruler over all his realm. So he's getting ready to give up the ghost. Verse 15. And gave him the crown and his robe and his signet, to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus and nourish him up for the kingdom. So he pretty much realized what happened. So he called Philip, so that he gave him these things to bring up Antiochus, his son, to be rulers and king. In verse 16 now. So King Antiochus died there in the 149 years. Now when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus his son, whom he had brought up, being young. So Lysias was the governor who was in charge of upbringing his son, right? He left his son to his care. So when he found out that he died, then he groomed his son to take over the rulership. Right? Now, in verse 18 now it says, about this time, they that were in the towers shot up, the Israelite round about the sanctuary, and sought always their hurt of the heathen. So now in verse 18, meanwhile, they had set up garrison. They had set up garrison in the citadel and kept hemming at the Israelite. So the garrison that they set up at the citadel is like a fortress, right? And it's set up on the hill country, meaning on top of the mountain, they have a big fortress. Usually that fortress is used to spot out enemies that's coming in to the city. Because it's so high up above, you can pretty much, see when the enemy is coming, and you can go down. So now the heathen set up garrison at the citadel there, and they were persecuting the Israelites. And they always seeking to destroy them. Verse 19. Wherefore Judah, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. So now he called the people to mount an attack against them and get rid of them from the citadel. Right? In verse 20 now, it says, so they came together and besieged them in the 150th year, and be made mounts for shot against them and other engines. So they gathered together and besieged the citadel in the 150th years, right? And they built siege towers and other engines of war over there. Since you know that that citadel used to spot out enemies, and they use it as a place for themselves now to keep a watch on the city to protect the people. So now let's see what happened as they besieged the citadel and got rid of the people that were there. Also, we had people who, sellouts who go and side with the enemy, because you have people. You gotta understand, once you not keeping the laws of the Most High, you are subject to other people's manipulation, right? Because at that point, you don't see the Most High as the center of everything, who possess everything, who can give you everything. Just so because you see those the heathen have a couple dollars in their pocket, you feel that they can give you a position or they can give you money, right? And they can further whatever desire you may have. And this was the mentality of some of our people. And let's see what they did. Albeit certain of them that were besieged go forth unto whom some ungodly men of Israel joined themselves, right? And they went unto the king and said, how long will it be ere thou execute judgment and avenge our brethren? So now they went and snitched to the king. They went and complained, right? Selfish motivation that would cause them to do that. How can you go and report to an enemy about your brother? Selfish motivation and selfish desires.
Explain that.
Which one?
Okay, it says, how big certain of them that were besieged got forth, ungodly men of Israel joined themselves. So the heathen, it seems the heathen took and went to some men of Israel.
No, what happened is we mount a siege against the garrison at the citadel.
Right.
But there were some of our people there, right? At the citadel with the heathen.
Oh, they was already over there with them.
We're already over there with them, set up shop over there. So now
Fighting
against Israel, right? Join the enemy. So when we went there to root them out, they ran and they go report to the king. They said, we are being persecuted by the Israelites, our brethren. So how long you gonna stay around and watch those guys, take over everything and persecute us? So they went there and report to the king after we fled, we take him out.
So the king of Israel wasn't with at that point.
No, it wasn't the king of Israel. It was the king of the other nations, meaning the Persians.
Oh. Okay.
Antiochus, you remember the son took over?
Right. Well, the son took over because he died.
He died, so he becomes the king.
Okay.
So that's the king they went and report.
Okay.
We report our brethren to them and say, what are you gonna do, man? Because those guys, because usually when you have king, you always have opportunists of our people, right? Yeah, you always have opportunists. They with you, they with wherever the power is. This person got into power, they did, because they want to maintain their position. Because sometimes once you used to a certain lifestyle, even though you are the children of the Most High, their mind got twisted up. The gift that they give you destroy their heart, and they side with the enemy, and they want to maintain that kind of lifestyle. At that point, they don't want to have anything to do with any other, group, because Judah stands for righteousness. But with them, they believe in riches and status. Right. Judas wasn't fighting so he can get status, so he can be king and have a nice temple with everything decked out and he got a big house and mansion and things like that. That wasn't what he was fighting for. He was fighting to restitute the our principles, you know, our rules and the way of life, the culture. It was more rooted in the Mosai's culture that the Mosai gave us. But to them, they don't care about that stuff. They care about we at peace and we got all these nice things and we can flaunt, you know, our thing in front of people. That's about it. So when you see that you're in the verge of losing that, you're gonna go to the power that be. Say, yo, what are we gonna do? Yeah.
Master, what we gonna do?
Yeah. So that's how, you know, you can see they go and report, you know, to the king. It says, howbeit certain of them, okay, I read that already, verse 22, and they went and said, how long will it be ere, read that already, verse 23, we have been willing, check this out, right? Verse 23, we have been willing to serve thy father. So he went, they went to the son. They said, we have been willing to serve thy father, and to do so as he would have us, and to obey his commandment, right? To obey his commandment, his rules, right? Not the rules of the Most High, his commandment, because his commandment appeals to them, but they despise the commandment of the Most High.
I was ashamed with the brother that people think that sellouts that started this empire. Nah, yeah, sellouts back then too.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm thinking about what's it, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha.
Mm-hmm.
Where he went back to Naaman and asked for, you know, like silver and talents and garments and stuff like that.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
No, I'm thinking about it in 2 Kings chapter 5 of Gehazi went back to Naaman and asked for, you know, talents of silver. After Elisha healed him from his leprosy, but Elisha didn't take anything, but his servant, you know, went back and, you know, went to him and got some, you know, talents of silver, you know, sneakingly.
Right. So that's you can read that story in 2 Kings, the 5th chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 23. Verse 24 now. For which cause they of our nation besiege the tower and are alienated from us. Moreover, as many of us as they could light on the sloop and spoil our inheritance. So now, as they go and report, they report all these things, right? It says for this reason, it's the son. What he said is to follow. They wanted to follow the father, and they willing to do his commandments, and that's for the reason that they went to the son and report, right? And they said the people went of Israel, they besieged the high place or the citadel, and they become hostile to them. You know, so it's sort of like what's going on right now. Every time a country don't like what the government is doing, they come and report to the United States.
Okay.
And tell them, you know, we got oppressor, they killing people over there. And next thing you know, United States said, man, they violation of human rights. Next thing you know, war started and they invade that country. Because usually they want their people in power over there. And then whenever, you know, if you put us in power, you know, we'll give you access to our land. We'll do as you please. And, you know, we'll do your bidding. But those guys over there, they talk bad about you. They don't like America. And, you know, they oppressing the people. All lies. Just like our brothers doing right here. They lying, right? Just so that they can get their way. Same thing that's happening all throughout the world. They go to quote unquote, U.S. is the superpower, have the bases, have all the big arsenals, the missiles, so they go and report to them so that they can get their way. Same thing that's happening in Syria, same thing that happened in Iraq and throughout the East, and everything that you see happening in the Caribbeans, where they bribe government officials, right, to take over their land and have their corporation go over there, set up shop, right, exploit the people, and after they're done, they back up and when they go there, they employ a few people in the population. They open up their factories and they impose their minimum wage on the people, where they cannot afford to do anything with that money, right? As they working, that same money they working on the shop is that same money they use to eat at the shop, to go home to send their kids to school, right? So they go in and set up shop in their country. And when you threaten that you're gonna raise minimum wage, you know what happened? They threaten to pack up and leave and go other places. So they corner you, right? To the point where you get to accept the exploitation, or you get nothing at all. So that's how they do it in the Caribbean. But in Iraq and other places that have resources, they pretty much just go and bomb you and take your stuff by vengeance and by violence. Same thing that he was trying to do here in Antiochus, but it's plain fell. Just like America plain fell in Iraq. Just like it's falling in Syria, right? It's falling. It's the same thing. History repeating itself on a different scale.
He's making the news recently. The guy Eric Prince, who started Blackwater, right? Which is like pretty much a mercenary firm of like ex-military guys. A lot of them are special forces, Delta Force, Navy SEAL. That's the work that they do now. They pretty much provide detail for like dictators, and they say, you pay a certain fee, we'll make sure that none of your enemies have a coup to throw you out of power. So they pay his group to pretty much protect them.
Right.
Kind of like a Praetorian Guard for like the Caesar at the moment.
Right. So it's pretty much what they do. And I watch what they do to Caribbean countries like Jamaica and Haiti. That's what they do.
You're right. It's the same model everywhere you go.
Right.
It's the same process.
So I see them, a country that was essentially agricultural country, is turned into a textile industry, where their main export is textile, where they don't even produce the material, that they sew the t-shirts and things like that, right? So at any time, the people buck up, they pack up and go set up shop in another place, and they dry up the country, because the people now, the country is not agricultural anymore, right? They used to export goods from there to the United States and Europe. Now they're not even doing that anymore. So it's mostly textile. And you have Clinton went and subsidized the rice industry by bringing cheap rice from people in Texas, in different places in the United States,
In the South,
right? And put them and place them there, drive down the price of rice through free trade agreement, politician that they pay, right? And now the people, they are starving.
This is a class in of itself what you're talking about, but it's just messed up how they always look at the outcome. They don't look at what led to the outcome, right? They just say, "Oh, look at them down there. They can't get it together." They don't go into the stages that led to them not being able to produce for themselves. We said at one point they were growing their own stuff, and their own people were buying it. Like you said, with subsidizing, it kills a country, especially if there's certain things that they're known for doing, and you come in and pretty much provide the same item
Mhm.
for a fraction of the cost. You know how supply and demand works. Like, who's going to go and buy it from the U.S. now?
Right.
That's going to hurt the farmers now, which hurts their economy. Now they don't have that much spending power. You pretty much triple the economy.
Right. Because if stuff are being grown in the country, then there's no need to import stuff from other countries.
That gives that country power to export, which brings revenue.
Absolutely. Right. But you know what? It happens because of our people being corrupt and accept the bribe. To them, they seeking out their advantages by any means.
And what you're talking about, especially in the Caribbean, but like you said, in other parts of the world too. That's usually what it is. It's a tug of war between leadership that are for the people actually producing, bringing stuff to the table, versus the other types of leadership which are the sellouts, which are the ones that they'll take those nice, generous donations from the U.S. and other Western countries so that they can bring the subsidizing in and then cripple the local farmer,
right,
with a local producer, whatever they do.
Right. Con. So that's why usually when I speak about these things, I usually put the blame back on us, because without our permission, they wouldn't be able to do that. Sort of like we're seeing right here, our people go to them and report our people to report Judas, to the king. Verse 25, neither have they stretched out their hands against us only, but also against all their brothers. So pretty much, they said not only they tried to go against our own people, the brother that came, but they said they are brothers. So a king that sees that, because in order for you to appeal to the king, you have to show him that what you come to tell them is to his benefit. You have to show it's not only your benefit, you have to show him that you're not looking out for your interests, but you're looking out for his interests. So they put that there, said not only they do that to us, they do that they try to enlarge their borders, and they oppress even people in all their borders. So what's the king's gonna do? The king's gonna act, because right here the king's desire is to expand his borders and have as many allies as is possible on his side. So if they say that he's they're expanding, that means they're seeking to take over rulership, and sooner or later they might even take him down from power. So the king, it will be acting based on that information, false information, that our brothers went and reported, to him.
What you were saying, Con, is Micah 2:1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
How they cover fields and take them by violence.
Con.
Oppress a man in his house, even his heritage.
Micah 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. In verse 26 now. And behold, this day they besieged the tower at Jerusalem to take it. The sanctuary also in Bethsoda have they fortified. Wherefore, if thou do not prevent them quickly, they will do greater things than these. Neither shall thou be able to rule them. Here we go. So you got to act quickly and take action, because if you don't do that, forget about your kingdom. You won't be able to rule them. They're going to rule you. If you cannot rule them, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to rule you. Subliminally, that's what they tell him. Right? Verse 27. Wherefore, if thou do, verse 28. Now, when the king heard this, he was angry. Right? So they appeal to his anger now. They appeal to his desire. Therefore, the report served them well, because he's going to act. And gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms and from islands of the sea bands of hired soldiers. So what we have today as NATO, right? And come together so that they can come and get rid of Israel, right? So that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen, right? Because he had help from the other nations round about, and 20,000 horsemen, and 32 elephants exercised in battle to take down Judah. These went through Idumea and pitched against Bethsura, which they assaulted many days, making engine of war. But they of Bethsura came out and burned them with fire and fought valiantly. Even with that, the cause that we were fighting for was greater than their desire to get rid of us for their selfish motives. So we fought. We fought valiantly, and we caused them much destruction. All right? So we march on them. So we march away from the citadel and encamped at Bethsura. So opposite to the king's army. So, all right, let's read on. Upon this, Judah removed from the tower and pitched in Beth Zacharias over against the king's camp. So we faced them, right? Then the king, rising very early, marched fiercely with his host toward Beth-Zacharias, where his armies made them ready to battle and sounded the trumpets. All that happened because of our sellouts, right? Verse 34. And to the end, they might provoke the elephants to fight. They shew them the blood of grapes and mulberries.
Mm. That's cool. You know what you think of? Like in Spain?
Right.
Matador, right?
Uh-huh.
So you get the sheep in red,
Uh-huh.
red sheep. You show the bull the red sheep.
Uh-huh.
Bull sees the red, he just he wants to run straight at you.
Uh-huh. It's like a juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, a pump up juice.
Come.
Yep. So they distribute mulberries to the animals so they can amp them up.
The sight of certain things, like you study animals, the sight of certain things, get them ticked off, get them excited.
Right? Yep. All right, so let's go 35 now. Moreover, they divided the beasts among the armies, and for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats of mail and with helmets of brass on their heads. And besides this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of the best. So they get the best men ready because they knew what Judas is made of. Again, you can see that they believe in the strength of their army. right? They believe in the power and the possession of their guns. That's why you see so many nations now. This got the nukes. North Korea got the missiles, right? The intercontinental ballistic missiles. They got that. You got China, have thousands and thousands of men in their army. Right? You got Russia, have his missile defense shield, and they have their warplane. Everybody's trying to bring the bigger guns, the bigger weapons, right? They believe in their arsenals. It's the same spirit back then. It's the same spirit today. So that's why they believe in these things. And these are not new people. It's the same spirits.
Korea said that they can reach America with their missiles.
Right.
And U.S. said, no way.
Yeah. Same people back then, same spirit. Except they expands, right? Their invention expands, or their discovery of how to build stuff expands. Back then they had the elephants. They had today they have, you know, the machine, the war machine that thinks. Replace the elephants. You know, move faster. Right? Wise to do evil, huh? Right. Verse 37 now. And upon the beasts were there strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them. Yeah, it's like the tanks. You know, when they're inside the tank, you can see them, you cover them, and they're shooting. So now that was the back then. That was the tank back then, right? That was the tank back then. A bunker. That was their bunker, right? It says every one of it says the cover of them and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one 32 strong men that fought upon them, besides the Indians that rule him. 38. As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on this side, right? Okay. Verse 38, right? 39? Yeah. It says, and being honest all over the midst of the ranks. Let me read 38 again. As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on this side and that side at the two parts of the host, giving them signs that to sign what to do, and being honest all over amidst the rank. So those guys, they were well prepared. They know their stuff, well trained, man. Yeah.
Kind of like you're reading with the outpost on top of the elephant. It gives them a wider range of vision.
Right.
So as they're moving in their left and right flanks, they can look out and they can see what the horsemen are close by. They go left, they go right. They can see if the enemy is going to spring up another spot that they can't see down at that level.
Right.
So they're like the command post. that's like localized.
Right.
That's the tank. That's the tank back then.
Right, but with this here, they also have range of vision. This tank, unless they always have range of vision, they have radar. They have scopes, you know, inside, which helps. Oftentimes they might have like air support. People that are like elevated that can give them insight into things. It was like a 2-for-1 with this these guys on elephants. Interesting too, you said how they hired the other soldiers. They were smart and they said there's no point in training our guys on how to use these elephants because might as well give them to Elon to do it. That's different.
Right.
That's the proxy war. What they do now anyway.
Right.
Proxy war.
Mhm.
I mean, hire soldiers from other nations to go fight for you.
Oh yeah.
And their people fight so that you use men.
Right, but this it was like out in the open. The proxy was usually like not in the pockets. Police. That's actually.
All right, so let's read on and see what's taking place here. It says now when the sun shone upon the shield of gold and brass, the mountain glistered therewith and shined like lint of fire. Right, those guys, their helmets.
Big dilemma, right?
So, right. In the way you see, you had great minds back then who thought of things when it comes to fight. The helmets, they didn't just have the helmets for the helmet's sake, but how they design it and the intellect that they put behind the design. When the sun shone, it will look like fire and it will blind you, blind the enemies. All that was tactics, you know, for the soldiers to fight. Right, so it was like a blaze when the sun hit it. Right, so it was like blaze, like a flaming touch. Right, and if you're not well prepared and you don't understand what's happening, you know, you might be afraid. It's just fire. Those guys, they come with fire, you know, up on the top of their head. The first thing you know, is burning. That's what comes into your head from far when you see it. And nobody wants to burn, right? So this was all tactical move employed by the army. Verse 40.
Yeah, I mean, I think it says the lamps of fire as far as getting off the light. I think it's just more so, not so much that it looked like they were on fire, but more just, like you mentioned, range of vision. What you mentioned as far as their range of vision being effective, because you got the, like anytime someone shines a like mirror into your eyes, it's like, it's hard for you to see what's going on. So with a whole bunch of them having that, and it's just reflecting all that light in your face, the soldiers coming at them have a hard time, you know, fighting.
Keep up.
Because their range of vision is
Good. Verse 40. So part of the king's army being spread upon the high mountain and part of the valley below, they march on safely and in order. So they were moving in unison. So part was spread out on the high hill, and some troops were on the plain, and they advanced steadily in good order. So they moving, right? Wherefore, all that heard the noise of their multitude, and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved, for the army was very great and mighty. Appearance. That's why the Most High said, judge not according to appearance, right? Judge righteous judgment, right? Mostly we think. Humans mostly think based on what they see in front of. And it's the hardest job in the world to think without appearance. And most people fail at this job. Think without appearance. That's the most difficult job to have. And those guys, military strategists, back then, they were just as good as today's military strategists in their time. In today's time, it's about big, weapons and warships and things like that. It's good for this time because now war is fought, not in the land, but on high. You bring your troops as the last resort. When you feel like you are already conquered the enemy, then you bring in your troop on ground so that you conquer them, right? But first, you're gonna use your aerial arsenals, missiles, to weaken the enemy before you bring in, your soldiers on the ground.
That's what they did to Germany. They did that Blitzkrieg.
Mm-hmm.
And they bombed them from the air.
Yeah, you're right. With the technology, they changed the model because traditional warfare, even in the military now, it's step zero is the CIA, obviously, right? They come first, but then first they bring in the Marines, right, to neutralize any attack that's on shore, right? They come to a coastline. Then they bring in the Army, right, to follow behind the Marines. Then the Navy and the Air Force to provide support from the water and from the air. For drones, you can circumvent that process, right, and ignite and spare soldiers when it comes to certain threats.
Gun. So now imagine the sight. We're talking about judge not according to appearance. How would you feel? You see a big army. It's coming in. And then you hear the noise. Boom, 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 boom. They coming in the noise. And you look at the appearance of these men. You got to have the power of the Most High on a high level, right? To not feel frightened. You must understand how the Most High operate on a high level to not tremble.
I know what Judas, he's like Romans 15:4 all day long, right? Listen to what he said to his soldiers. I would probably go to 1 Kings 2. Elisha with his servant, he said, we can't do it. And he said, Lord, open up his eyes. And he said, he put the spirit on him, man. We opened his eyes, he could see all Yahweh's hosts. Before he couldn't see Yahweh's hosts. So all he knew was, he can't go there. So I think that might be in order right now for
Right.
Judas and his men.
Judge not according to appearance, right? Things may appear one way, but keep in mind the helmets. Let's not even go into the helmets. The people who design the helmets, the soldiers themselves, the Most High control them. Whatever move they're gonna make, the Most High create them. It's not like they acting, outside of the Most High. But to understand that is to understand how the Most High, how the world works, how the Most High, operates. So nothing is impossible to the Most High because everything, the wicked are His. Everybody is His. So to have that understanding is very, very profound when it comes to such an appearance of an army that appears so great in numbers and in might and in equipment. Consider everything that they have, and they seem to have everything mapped out, right? They seem to have everything mapped out, and it takes time and great intellect or great thinking to come up with these things. So if they can come up with these things and you don't have that much, what can you say? How much fight can you fight? But with understanding that the Most High conquer all, the Most High control the mind of each and every one of these men that's gonna fight, then that's how you begin to see how they're gonna win the fight, or how they're gonna fight. Y'all couldn't
That's already scripted. Psalms 20:7. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God.
Fine.
Psalms 22.
It comes.
Kind of the verse I wanted to read, what you were saying, was Job 12 and 16. Job 12 and 16, it says, with him is strength and wisdom, the deceived and the deceiver are his.
So it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Everything belongs to the Most High, as Job 12 and 16 says. And there's no other understanding outside of that.
Forgive me. What did Navian said, Job what?
Job 12 and 16.
The water.
And the bar.
See, when we begin to understand these things, we understand that we are unstoppable as Israelite. But we got a lot of work to do. But the Most High is ready. Been ready. Been ready. Everything from the trees, from the smallest particle, all is the Most High. From the big towers that you see out there, that is Esau, where's the knowledge come from? The blueprint to build those buildings, to build whatever airplanes, anything that we may consider as a wonder of the world in the Guinness Book of Records. Where do we think the original? It comes from the original, which is the Most High. So as much as we might think sometimes that Esau has power, where does this power come from? Where does it come from? That's why as Israelite we should gun. That's why when we speak about the Most High, having everything, he has everything. And when we speak about Esau, always put Esau in his limit. Whereas we use them as a process of edification to show how wicked he is in his kingdom, and as well as the other nations. But the focus should go right back to the Most High, Yahushua, Israel. That's always should be the focus, should shift back to us. Right? Even though at this time, again, it might be difficult, given the appearance of our state right now, it seems like we got nothing. Right? We run nothing. But this happened for reason that you and I know, according to Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. But this shouldn't be a deterrent to us not want to do good things or great things, right? Even before Yahushua makes his second coming. Verse even Yahushua said it himself. Greater things can you do, right? What's the scripture? Greater thing than you do that I've done. Right? We could do greater thing than he did. Why? Because the same substance original substance that he's using of the Most High, we have access to that same substance. That's why he said that. The same original substance that he had access to, we have access to that same substance, and the Most High will not deny us if we look for it and ask. So that's why he said that. So we have access to that same thing. So when he said that, he's not minimizing himself, because he knows whatever we may do, he's not in competition with us. And we're not competing with him. What he had done, that's what he did. And that's what he was put there to do, and he do it. And if we do something, it's only further the glory of the Most High. We're not diminishing anything from him. Right? So that's when we're in the mindset of creative mindset, as opposed to seeing each other as competitors. But we got to see each other as Most High's vessels, that he's using us. Through us, he's showing his glory. And that's what it is. Verse 42, it says, Then Judas and his host drew near and entered into battle. And there was slain of the king's army 600 men. Eleazar also, surnamed Savarin, perceiving that one of the beasts armed with royal harness was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him. Now, what do you think? That was great judgment, right? So what you do is, in this war, if it seems like you are at a disadvantage, you have to use any tactic that would give you an edge, right? So now it's not so much about the weapon, because if it's the weapon, you don't lose, right? So you got to use a different strategy. Verse 44. Put himself in jeopardy to the end he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name. Wherefore you went upon him courageously to the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand, on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. Which done, he crept under the elephant and thrust him under and slew him, whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died. Howbeit, the rest of the Jews, seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his force, turned away from them. So now, what happened is, he's trying to get the upper hand. He thought that the king was there. But to what extent that he went? It says, wherefore you went upon him courageously through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides.
He had created a path.
Right.
An elephant.
Right. So what he did at this point, he thought the king was, because the elephant was higher than them. So he thought the king was inside of it.
He wasn't only higher than them, he was higher than the other elephants, wasn't he?
Right. Other than the other elephants.
So, for that.
Right.
Remember, it tells you he's ready. Troops surrounding him. They were
Right.
different parts of the army spread.
Right.
So he perceived that it was higher than them. What do you think? What do you think that he went after them? After that was which was high, because the king was in it. What other thing we can emphasize on that by that judgment of what he made?
He sacrificed himself, figure he can win by doing that, getting the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop the elephant, I guess the elephant was going to batter the ram to knock the walls down to take the city, right?
So the key is right here: go after the king. We all familiar with that. You go after the leader, and everybody's scattered.
Right.
Right? If you go after the king die, game over. Because now it's gonna create something in the mind of the people that's gonna make them, in disarray. Right? But at the same time, he wanted to give himself a name. While he did a courageous thing, but he wanted to give himself a name and go courageously try to save his people and give himself a name. Right? The key is not to give yourself a name. Right? You go and do this to give the Most High the glory. So it must be balanced on both ends. While he did something great, but this fight, you can't think that you're gonna win this fight by yourself like that. Right? You can't think you're gonna, and you can see Judas in his sense never have such a situation, because he fighting for the principles of the Most High to be established, not to give himself a name. By default, he got the name, but this, as we read in the chapters, that was never his main objective, to give himself a name. But the fact that he's courageous, that's another thing too. If you're in battle, you have to use your strategy. But in that fight, it's not about him. It's the Most High fighting. Imagine you have all this army, and you have limited men. How are you going to win? Right. So you cannot think for a moment that you're going to go after the king, and you're going to,
But he didn't kill the king. He just stopped the king's entourage by killing it over.
But the key is, he thought the king was inside that.
Right, on top of that elephant.
Right.
What I'm saying is, even if the king was on top of the elephant, the king didn't die by him killing that elephant.
No, what I'm saying, if he killed the king, this would give him an upper hand. And you see right here, it says it would give, he'll give himself a name.
Right.
And they will win.
Well, he thought the rest of the members with him.
Right?
They
You
was
will
like,
win.
that's crazy.
Go ahead,
I'm
Navia.
not going up there.
Yeah, go ahead, Navia. Go, your comment. Your comment, because you raised your hand. No. No, because when I asked why do we think that he went there by himself and go after the king? And I said,
Strike the shepherd, sheep shall scatter. Zechariah 13:9. Which was talking about Yahushua. That's what did Yahushua to try to stop the movement. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I said 9. It's Zechariah 13:7. That's the scripture that says it. Strike the shepherd, sheep shall scatter. And it's funny because we're talking about the 48 laws of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of his principles. He took that verse directly out of it and used that as a means to obtain power. That's why it's a lot of stuff in there. If you read it, it's like all the stuff is already in the scriptures. It's just a matter of knowing where to find it. But a lot of folks will read his book and be like, yeah, this is stuff that he came up with. Or the way that he arranged it, it's an original material. But even though he says that in the beginning, this is compiled from other resources, other books. whether he realizes it or not, he draws a lot from the scriptures. You know, everything can be found there.
Right.
Oftentimes expressed and summarized where they'll take 50 pages with the scriptures deal do in 2 verses. Give you the real gist of what you need to know.
Right.
Without all the fancy extra words and extra talk.
Go ahead. Go ahead now,
Yeah, I
y'all.
was going to read it quickly. 1 Kings 22, verse 31. It says, but the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that had rule over his chariots, saying, fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Israel.
That's 1 King 32.
1 Kings 22, 31.
1 King 22, 31.
So, 22, 31. But this is the king of Syria, you know. He's telling his man not to fight with small or great, but just go after the king.
But if you get the king, then you put, because keep in mind, when you're a leader or a king, you have the hearts of the people. You have the hearts of the people. And by you falling, you cause the country to just in distress, in chaos. And that's why the Most High always tell us, when we wanted a king, we would, you know, mindset want to follow the other nations. They have kings, we wanted kings too. So by him doing that, he went and thrust himself under, and then he you know, slew the elephant, and it fell upon him. Imagine that big.
Well, I was just saying, he still didn't kill the king. He just stopped the king's car from moving, right? I understand.
But the goal was to kill the king.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of just another example in history when we were fighting battles against the heathen. You can write down 2 Samuel 21. Go with also go with verse 43. I think you go with 43, right?
2 Samuel 21.
2 Samuel 21, 15 to 17. Got the strategy here, or the tactic here to take out the ruler. A little bit of energy exerted to achieve massive effect, right? Massive impact. So 2 Samuel 21 and verse 15 reads,
Record.
Con.
Did he say 2 Samuel 21?
Con. 2 Samuel 21, 15 to 17.
I just wanted to make sure. The water.
I hear the ball.
What was that he said before 1 Kings that Nabia said before?
Before 1 Kings, Zechariah 13 and 7.
13 and 7? Zechariah.
So this is 2 Samuel 21, verse 15. Moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down and his servants with him and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. And Ishbibenob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, succored him, and smote the Philistine, and killed him. Then the men of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt no more go out with us to the battle, that thou quench not the light of Israel. See, David in his older age, they knew
it wouldn't be effective if what him out there fighting with us still, and then he died. It'll quench the light, and it'll put out the flame that's keeping Israel going at this point, going out to conquer and to establish the land. Right? So they said, you know what, David, you more than earned your title as king, but just hang it up for now, right? Since you're older in age and you went faint in this battle, this could happen again. So don't go out so that we can still have that drive and that motivation to establish the kingdom. So the same idea from our side.
So now let's see what happened. See, one action triggers a reaction. Once they saw what happened, everybody's heart just dies down. Verse 48. This is
This is linking up with what verse?
43.
43. All right. The water.
Fine. Albeit the rest of the Jews seeing the strength, verse 47 now. Albeit and the rest of the Jews seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. So they fled. This is one instance that we run away. Fear. Once you fear, that's it, done. And the action that he took by going in courageously and going, try to see if he can, get rid of the king, that turned out to be miscalculation.
Well, at least he got his name for it, so if he stopped that power forever.
You wanted to stop the king, not the animal.
Oh, then he should have shot a bow and arrow at the king and didn't kill the animal.
Yeah.
He stopped that garrison, though. He stopped the garrison.
He didn't stop him. Let's see what happened.
Well, he stopped that particular garrison because it was like 30 men on top of that elephant.
Well, let's see what happened. Let's see what happened.
As they said, something like
it says, albeit the rest of the Jews seeing the strength of the king and the violence of his strength and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. So they ran. So now, 48. Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem. They continued to march to meet them. And the king pitched, they didn't stop the king. And the king pitched his tent against Judea and against Mount Zion. But with them that were in Bethsura, he made peace. And also, do not underestimate, as we saying that, it's not to underestimate the power of those people, of what the guy mounted, right? But the key is not to believe, to judge based on appearance. And again, this is seeing the Most High on a high level, to not seeing things on appearance. When you see in front of you, there's a large army, well equipped, with things that like you have not seen too much of. That alone, you got to be on a higher level. Each and every soldier that's fighting got to be on that level, to not base things on appearance. And again, like I said earlier, this is the hardest thing to do. That's the hardest thing. To not think based on appearance. Because appearance sometimes do deceive, but to differentiate what you're seeing versus what really matters, sometimes it's a fine line. So when they saw he got killed, their heart melted and they ran, and that gave the enemy the power to keep walking. Verse 49. But with them that were in Bethsura, he made peace, for they came out of the city, because they had no victuals there to endure the siege, it being a year of rest to the land. So now they were observing the year to let the land rest. So they did not have much food. So he made peace with the inhabitants, so those that he saw there, right? He made peace with them in Bethsura. In
So
Bethsura,
they surrendered.
pretty much. I mean, what can you do? You gotta put your hands up. Put your hands up. When you lose, you lose. You gotta put your hands up. So they put their hands up.
But basically, because they had no food.
No, actually, it was the year of rest. Not only did they surrendered, but they didn't have any food because at that time the land was supposed to rest. They was observing the year of release to let the land rest. So if you let the land rest, the land is not producing crops. You have to live off what you save over time for that time when the time comes.
So they surrendered because of this powerful army, or because they had no more food to fight.
They surrendered because of the army, but at that time they also did not have any food. Right? It was just around the time when they supposed to let the year of release to let the land rest. So there wasn't any crop growing going on in the land. So they had no provision. Because what happened is, remember, it was a siege. Even if you have food there, right? You in a siege, you don't know how long the siege is gonna be for. So you may run out of food. So they did a calculation based on the year of release, and we don't know, we did not grow any crop, and based on that food that we have available, it's not like they didn't have any food whatsoever. They had food, but whether or not they would be able to withstand the siege for the time that they have the food, they might as well just give up.
Yeah, like the bars, like Egypt had 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine.
Say that again?
Like when Joseph told the king of Egypt, it's gonna be 7 year plenty, then 7 years of famine.
Right. So
to save up.
Exactly. So you have to come up with a contingency plan to save for that 7 years, so you have enough food. So it got to be well calculated.
And it shows you too, when it comes to us being free, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to have infrastructure in place. Even when we were taking over Canaan, the Most High said we got to take over little by little, lest we get overrun by the beasts of the field, right? And aren't able to get into the cycles of the land, right? To where in today's captivity, we're just so used to going to the store and getting something, right? Or going to get something to eat, but thinking about it like, okay, we have to provide our own food, clothing. There's more that goes into that. Where it's not just, I just go to the store down the street and get something to eat, go to the supermarket. If you're the one providing that food and that clothing, you got to think differently.
Come on.
All right, going back to verse 37, we have a dispute here. I got two questions.
Verse 37?
What?
Is that verse 37?
Yeah, verse 37. You read it first. Let me read it.
Right.
All right, it says, and upon the beast were there strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one 2 and 30 strong men that fought upon them, besides the Indian that ruled them. Now, my two questions, are they saying that upon each elephant was 32 men on top of the elephant? That's the first question. Well, each elephant, or was it 32 men amongst all the elephants?
Okay. So on the first one, it says, read that part again in 30.
Read the whole thing again?
No, where it says, let me see. 30. They're already on at every occasion, whosoever the beast was, and upon the beast were 3 strong towers, right? Three 3 strong towers
Let me see.
of wood. 3 strong towers.
Were there strong? It didn't say 3 strong towers. It said there were strong.
Oh,
towers.
sorry. And there upon the beast were their strong towers, right, of wood, which cover every one of them. And there, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon everyone, 32 strong men. What's that? 32. On everyone, there were 2 and 32 on each one.
So, all right. Okay, that's my question. That's the first question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's what he said. Did you hear him? There was 32 men on each elephant, right?
The 32 on each one. Remember, they fastened them together with harness.
They had a floor on top of the elephant, the wood. They had a wooden floor on top of the elephant for the 32 men to stand there. Not only that, they probably had catapults and all that stuff.
Right, because they fastened with special. It was a special thing that they
like a table.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Well, it tell you with beams on the elephant like a table, so you could stand. The 32 men could stand on the elephant. Now the second question, you want to answer on that part, Navier?
You just want to add on.
For visuals, since I know brothers probably thinking about elephants we see now and the size that they are and stuff. How do you fit 32 folks on the that bar at the zoo, right? But remember, these are larger elephants. All elephants are the same size, but then also keep in mind, while they had the thing on top, they even also, you read like the pictures of it, to see how they had even the things on the side were meant to be on the right and the left side of the elephant too. And it's like think of like a horse with a saddle, and your feet going into where your feet go. Side too, you can actually put it down on the side of the elephant too, to like slash and to keep people from like hurting the elephant from the flank.
And you said the elephant was bigger back then too.
Yeah, these particular elephants, obviously. But you could put men not just on the top, but all around. It just says on the elephant. It talks about the tower being on top, but men can ride on the elephant in different parts. Like remember, what was it, the Lord of the Rings movie with the elf? Remember they had the elephant, and you see how they had the guy on the top, and then he read here. You even had people on the side of it too, along with on the top. So just keep that in mind as far as when you visualize it. So wonderful.
And the second part, it says besides the Indian, what was that?
That was saying earlier,
Elam.
They're known for having elephants in that region.
Oh, so the Indian was like the one, it was like the engineer?
Yeah, they like the drivers.
Yeah, the engineer, that's another word for it.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, he's like a driver. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out, the Indian. Where he's talking about Elam. Okay.
Yes, it did.
Oh, when did I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm right.
All right, so back to what verse we on now? 50.
Oh yeah, well, I want to tell them. Yeah, so Scorpion King with them Indians had to be on top of the elephant, like 5 on each side, 5 in the back, 5 in the front. And the Scorpion King, what's his name? And they be fighting, Indians, they be all over them elephants.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like 5'5", 5'4". They don't be they climb out the size to get on the Indians. So you got like the cavalry, maybe fight the Indians. Everybody they want to try to be 5'7". And because they're gonna fight, they want to be a certain size.
Mm-hmm. Right. So those guys, they mastered that art.
What I said, I mean, that's it. I don't want to hear nothing about it. There's nothing interesting. You know that.
Abtuab, please put your phone on mute, Babu Kusha. All right. Laptoa, please.
You don't want
Your voice coming through.
hello, mommy. Oh, just go. Just go, mommy.
Laptoa, please put your phone on mute because you're coming through. Water. All right. Verse 30 now. So the king took Basura and set a garrison there to keep it. So he took that and put a guard there to keep it. Right? Verse 51. And for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days, and set there artilleries with engines and instruments to cast fire and stones, and pieces to cast darts and slings. So now to the sanctuary, he did something completely different. Right? So he besieged it. He encamped before he put he stood there, he stayed there for quite some time, few days. So he put engines of wars and throw fires and stones, machine to shoot arrows and catapult it, bring it down. Verse 52. Thereupon they also made engine against their engines and held them battle a long season. So now the soldiers, the Jews, they also retaliate. They fought also. Right? Remember, he's coming in and set garrison, set guard there. But some of our people, valiant men, they still fought. Verse 53 now. Yet at the last, their vessels being without victuals, for that it was the 7th year, and they in Judea that were delivered from the Gentiles had eaten up the residue of the store. So now, what happened here, because it was the year of release, there was lack of food and storage. So those who were found in Judea, right, that were delivered from the Gentiles had eaten up the residue of the food. So they eat the food, the rest of the food that was there. They eat it up. Verse 54. There were but a few left in the sanctuary, because the famine did so prevail against them that they were fain to disperse themselves, every man to his own place. So they could not withstand the famine. So everyone, they disperse and they go wherever they had, a place to go. So they were scattered in, their own home. So because the famine was too much for them to bear. Verse 55. At that time, Lysias heard say that Philip, whom Antiochus the king, while he lived, had appointed to bring up his son Antiochus, that he might be king, was returned out of Persia and Media, and the king's host also that went with him, and that he sought to take unto him the ruling of the affairs. When it comes to power, power is fleeting, it's tempting, right? It's fleeting and tempting. So Lysias heard what happened, that Philip, was the one appointed to upbring King Antiochus, right, to power. And while, remember what the king said to Philip, he handed everything over to him so that he can bring his son, right, to make him king. But you have Lysias, who was the governor of the king at that time. Now he heard what happened. Now he wanted to take over. So he was trying to seize control of the government. Right? So when he comes to power, with these people, it's always been the case. One try to outdo the other, and it's always violence between them to seize power. So, in verse 57 now, wherefore he went in all haste and said to the king and the captain of the host and the company, we decay daily, and our victuals are but small, and the place we lay siege unto is strong, and the affair of the kingdom lie upon us. Now therefore, let us be friends with these men, and make peace with them, and with all their nation, and covenant with them, that they shall live after their laws, as they did before. For they are therefore displeased, and have done all these things, because we abolish their laws. So the king and the princes were content. Wherefore he sent unto them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. Also the king and the princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. Then the king entered into Mount Sion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he brake his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall round about. You see that? You see how these people do? Afterward departed he in all haste, and returned unto Antioch, where he found Philip to be master of the city. So he fought against him and took the city by force. So now this guy was advising, but he was advising to his benefit. He was advising to his benefit.
Explain that again. Explain that again.
Which one?
You said this guy was advising, but he was advising to his benefit. Okay, it says
Lysias was governor, right?
Right.
He was governor. At the same time he was governor, he had in mind to take over power.
Okay.
Because he heard that Antiochus had in mind to bring his son to replace him.
Right. Through Philip.
Right. But all in all, he had in mind to take over the rulership from the son.
Yeah, son, because I was thinking that all along. I said, if the father died, he said, why would I raise your son? I want to take power. You know, I just bump you off. I'm in charge.
Right.
But that wasn't Philip. That was Lysias.
That was Lysias. Lysias was a governor appointed by Antiochus the fourth.
But he was second in command.
Right. So he would want to be the successor. You would want to be the one who would take over power.
Kind of also, you can keep in mind, being second in command, that has its power too. It could be a thing where you can let that play out and work it that way. But he's got his son in the forefront, but then he's counseling for his own game. So just keep that in mind too, as far as how things might have went down. Esau doesn't always want to be in the limelight all the time. It could have been a thing where he wants to play it from behind the scenes. Like Cheney. Cheney, he did more as a vice president, right? He was able to do a lot. He had certain leverage as a vice president, not being in the limelight, but he was still doing a lot of stuff.
Right. No, Antiochus made Philip, when Philip was supposed to bring Antiochus' son into power, right?
Right. Philip was supposed to bring Antiochus' son to power, yes.
So now what happened there?
What happened at Lysias? Remember, Lysias was in Persia with the king. When he heard that Philip was grooming Antiochus' son to bring him to power, remember he had army with him. So he returned so that he can seize governorship.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So what he did, he gave orders to withdraw. Meaning the army that he went to Persia with, to withdraw to come find him. Right? So he want to have his army. So what at the same time, the king now, the son, he told him to stay over there. In our land, to stay over there and rule over there, because these people, what they did, they have their own laws. They wanted to follow their own laws. Why don't you make peace with them and stay there? Because this is why they buck up in the first place. So just stay there, and they don't even have food. And the city is a big city. So why don't you take it and stay there and watch over these people? But really, you wanted to take over power over there back then, back where the king was. So he advising the king to stay over there. Right? So he's advising the king, but at the same time, he's advising the king so he can take rulership over there.
That's the whole place.
Right. So when the king went, and he quickly get rid of him. So he was advising the king so he can take over his place.
But he didn't stay over there. He came home.
Right. He went back home to take over power while the king was over there in Judea taking care of business, getting rid of us and things like that, set up garrison. He advised him to stay there where he is. Right? To take over and rule these people and make peace with them. Here's how you're gonna be able to rule over them, make peace with them and things like that. While he's advising them to make peace with them and stay there, he's over there preparing a coup to take over.
Oh, okay.
That's like advising to your own benefit. So he's advising, but he's disguising what he's really after. He's really after the rulership, but he's pretending like he's helping the king, right, to stay over there and rule and things like that. But that's not what his true desire is to take over.
So actually, the son went back home and beat Philip and took the king.
Right. Because what happened is that's why it always happened. Back then, I mean, power, when it comes to power, that's how this kingdom, they fight among themselves for power.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
You very rarely see a Caesar grow old. It always be something like some poisonous drink. You're killed by a mob or something.
Right.
The eyes of March.
Yeah, exactly. And the young one coming up, it's like he can't see his father grow old. He's like, I gotta take it now.
Right. And you see in the last verse, right, in one of those verses right here, where it says, after this guy was making plan, and he went to one of our, let me read it again. It says, so the king, in the print, it says, in covenant with them, verse 59, with them, that they shall live after their laws, and they did before, as they did before, right? For they are therefore displeased and have done all these things because we abolished their laws. So he advising him, right? We abolished their laws.
Yeah.
It says, so the kings and the princes were content. Wherefore, he sent unto them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. Also the king and the princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. Then the king entered into Mount Zion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he brake his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall round about. He made an oath. When he find out, man, this thing has much value. That's a lot of potential. Forget about the treaty that I signed with you, or the oath that we made of peace. Now I'm gonna take that.
The typical.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. These people, you cannot make any agreement with them, because when they see, it's like, nah, the deal, you know, I signed the wrong paper, you know, I didn't know about this and things like that. So that's what happened.
Right. Just like they did with Indians.
Right. So the guy, again, he advised him, right, to do all these things, but he advised him as he's advising him, right? As he's advising him, he's advising him to his own benefit. He gave him some good advice that started to work to appease to his desire, right? But all in all, he set up shop back then. Right? So you can never trust these jokers.
Right.
All right, so let's take a break. 2:11. Come back at 2:41. All right.
You got here just in time.
All right, so I'll see you guys in a minute.
Right.
Gun.
Don't go, man. Hey, why is this guy leaking like this?
Ah, we in the service.
Quiet.
Gun.
Okay, for Job 12:16, that's verse 41.
Job 12:16. Job 12:16. Let me see.
Sure.
Yeah, 42.
Oh, 42. Okay. In the beginning of the class, when you quoted Ecclesiasticus 10:8 and Hosea 4:6, the brother said something about First Maccabees 1:2. That went along with verse 5 also?
Let me double check.
Just a side note.
First Maccabees 1 and 2. You read that out of that.
Then he wanted to, he looked in the previous history and he wanted to be like that. So, right, so verse, when he saw himself defeated, he was losing sleep and stuff like that. He figured that probably was taking over Israel like that.
So verse 9, it would, so if you're seeing that it would be verse 8.
Yeah.
That's verse 8.
Mm-hmm. Verse 8. Water. Quiet.
All right, so we're taking a break. We'll be back.
All right.